And joining us now live in studio to discuss this further, we welcome back our good friend Dr. Lee Hanna, Assistant Professor of Political Science at Wright State University. It's been too long.
I know it has. It's good to see you.
Welcome back.
Yes.
This appears to me to be purely ceremonial. If you look at the math and the fact that the GOP controls the House and the Senate, this really can't go anywhere, can it?
I think you're right. This is very symbolic at the moment. Now, this plays well with a minority of Americans. I looked at latest kind of Gallup polls on impeachment. About 40% support impeachment, 48% say no, and another 10% are undecided at the moment. So it's definitely a Hail Mary and really, I think, symbolic. And there's an interesting backdrop to this. Nancy Pelosi, as they showed, she does not want this strategy. She wants them to oppose the tax plans, to kind of stay unified on that and just allow the Mueller investigation to move forward and not get too caught up in this defiance. But there is some pressure from wings of their party, from different interest groups, and also this individual, Tom Steyer. Maybe some of the viewers have seen his advertisement.
Let's talk about it, because that's an interesting backstory regarding the 5 members of Congress who brought this forward. And Steyer, he's made a commercial that's getting a lot of play, especially on cable. You're saying this all might be tied together.
Sure. So Steyer is a billionaire. He's a big donor to the Democratic Party, much like there are billionaires who donate to the Republican Party. But he went out on his own and ran this ad. I think it was a $10 million ad buy to basically call on the impeachment of Donald Trump. And in many ways to provoke President Trump. He ran it on Fox and Friends, maybe his favorite show, and also to, my guess is some of these representatives, many who brought up the articles, these 5 representatives are very safe. They're in very safe districts that vote overwhelmingly Democratic, and perhaps this is a way to get his attention, or to get some more national attention for themselves. But they're going out on a limb here, and this is really more symbolism than anything that will move forward in the House.
Lee, when you look at the 5 articles that were submitted, the one that catches my attention is the alleged Emoluments Clause violations. This is a word most people don't understand, but of the 5, if they're going to get him on anything, that might be the one.
Sure, I would say at this moment the only one that really stands outside of overwhelming evidence would be the Emoluments Clause, because that argues that the president, as leader of the country, should basically be completely devoid of any financial interest. And so President Trump hasn't really he's never really disclosed to what extent his wealth is, both in the country and abroad, and so that has always been a concern. But it brings up the point that that impeachments are as political as they are legal. It takes the political capital and also, I think, the public support for them to go forward. So it's too early.
Yeah, mathematically probably no traction now, but depending how the midterms go, if the Democrats get a majority in the House, maybe it's revisited on the road. We shall see.
Worth noting that to actually convict would take a 2/3 majority in the Senate. The only way that an impeachment happens is something happens to the point that very few Americans are behind the president anymore, and we're not there. We know that he's polarizing. 90% of Republicans like him, 10% of Democrats like him, and until that number drops, significantly more with Republicans, that he will be our president.
Right. You still have the Mueller investigation percolating in the background. It's not going away. Lee, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Always
really appreciate
good to see
it.
you.
Yes.
Ladies, let's talk about this lovely weather.